Harriet Hageman might be one of the best politicians that we have in DC today. Watch as she reads a direct quote from Governor Gavin Newsom of California and how she ties the wildfires that constantly go on in California to his policies. You guys got to see her. Absolutely checkmate Newsom. It's awesome.
Gentleman yields back. Now recognize the gentlewoman from Wyoming, Hageman. Ms. Hageman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Climate change and global warming are the scapegoats for the Democrats and radical environmentalists to deflect attention from their failed policies and the destruction caused by their own actions. In 2001, under Bill Clinton, the Forest Service adopted the roadless rule, which was designed to deny access, management, and use to 58.5 million acres of National Forest Service lands. We warned at the time that this rule would cause catastrophic forest fires, reduce the amount of water available for communities for farming and other uses, and also result in catastrophic pine beetle outbreaks, which is in fact exactly what has occurred. Every single one of the things that we described would happen has in fact happened, and California has suffered maybe more than many of the states. Recently, the gentleman who ran the Forest Service under Joe Biden actually admitted in a hearing that the roadless rule was one of the primary roadblocks to proper and effective forest range management. So to say that the government is always trying to fix its last solution, I don't think you need to look any further than the roadless rule. California has essentially the same water infrastructure in place today with 40 million people that it had in the 1960s with 16 million people. So when we talk about putting conditions on the kind of relief that is going to be necessary to help to rebuild California, it must include additional water infrastructure and fire mitigation methods to avoid having these kinds of catastrophes happen ever again. I have an article that I have just recently pulled up. It stated that Newsom vetoed a bill to enhance fire mitigation so he could grab the land for affordable housing. This was a bill that was introduced in 2020, SB 182. It was authored by then State Senator Hannah Beth Jackson, a Democrat from Santa Barbara, whose district had just suffered the Thomas fire. This bill sought to increase local planning requirements and guidelines for permitting development in certain fire hazard severity zones. But what happened to that bill? It passed through both the Senate and the House. It was actually a very good bill. What happened? Mr. Newsom vetoed it. Why did he veto it? Because it did not comport with his idea of getting rid of single-family homes and pushing people into multifamily homes. And in his veto letter, he actually stated, wildfire resilience must become a more consistent part of land use and development decisions. However, whenever a politician uses the word however, you know they're going in the opposite direction, don't you? However, it must be done while meeting our housing needs. And for him, he wanted the money and the attention and the policy to focus on multifamily homes, not in protecting and hardening the resources available for the existing homes. So call me a bit skeptical when I hear the folks on the other side jump up and down and scream and yell about the fact that they've been doing everything necessary to try to harden and try to address these catastrophes when the exact opposite is in fact true. These catastrophes that we have seen over the last couple of months did not need to happen. This is not about climate change. This is not about global warming. This is about bad land use decisions, bad policies, and restrictions of being able to actually make the kinds of changes that must be made. Mr. Ring, while you were being questioned earlier, you mentioned the need for ESA reform and penalties for frivolous lawsuits, but I don't think that you had sufficient time to explain what you were referring to. Would you please explain what you were talking about?
Well, Steve has talked about this as well, and it applies to almost any kind of development or land use decision in California. there are laws, and it's not just CEQA, it's the California Air Quality Management, the CARB is a agency, and the Coastal Commission, which came up. But there's countless laws and regulations that provide grounds for lawsuits. One of the things that might be a very meaningful reform to CEQA would be to take away standing to third-party attorneys that truly have used CEQA as a business model and restrict CEQA lawsuits to district attorneys and the state attorney general. And by the way, when CEQA was signed by Governor Reagan in 1970, it was a two-page document that could be filed within weeks. And now it's an 800-page document that
Mr. Ring, the
takes
gentleman's
years.
time has expired. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony.
We're not going to go to Mr. Correa for a UC.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to submit some documents for the record.
Yeah, without objection.
First one, Progressive Insurance becomes the latest insurer to flee Texas, October 19, 2024. Second one, 15 states facing imminent insurance crisis, October 4th, 2024. Third one, insurance crisis that started in Florida and California is now spreading. Your state could be next, July 2nd, 2024. Fourth one, California isn't the only place where insurers are dropping homeowners, January 18th, 2025. Fifth one, letter from Congressman Costa to Secretary Hesgreth, dated February 1st, 2025, concerning unplanned water releases. And the sixth one, a letter from members of the California delegation to the Chairman Fitzgerald and Ranking Member Nadler, dated February 5th, 2025, supporting California's insurance regulation. Thank you.
Without objection, the chair now recognizes the gentlewoman from Vermont, Ms. Ballant.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The scale of this disaster is really almost impossible to comprehend. We've got 29 people who are dead. We've got 16,000 structures that were destroyed, so many Californians injured. And while these devastating fires were raging on,
I really think that people in California are starting to wake up to all the corruption and deceit that Gavin Newsom is engaged in. This is the same man who told everybody they had to stay in their houses and never leave, put on a mask everywhere you go. Meanwhile, he was throwing parties with 30, 40, 50 people, nobody wearing a mask and talking right next to one another. This man is the physical embodiment of a sleazy politician. I don't know how anybody takes this man seriously or votes for him. He is anti-King Midas. Everything that he touches turns to garbage. Donald Trump knows that the World Cup is coming in 2026, and he said, I am relinquishing Gavin Newsom of these duties and I'm taking it over because I don't want him to have anything to do with the situation. Gavin Newsom is scum of the earth. He actually does nothing to help his constituents, and he's always looking out for other people. I don't know how he consistently gets voted into power. I think a lot of it might have to do with the fact that California is very lax on their voting ID policies. Harriet Hageman is one of the bravest congresswomen that we have in power today because she's not afraid to speak truth to power. Gavin Newsom actively works against Americans time and time again, and Hageman brings the facts. She has concrete evidence that this man is a crook. How many disasters have to come to California before people step up and say, enough, we can't take this anymore. We're supposed to be in America, which is supposed to be home of the brave, land of the free. But it seems people in California have just lost their minds by this insanity. And it's no wonder why all these businesses are flocking out of California to move to states like Texas and Florida, where they're free to operate without fear of their governmental overreach. And what I think is the best testament to how Gavin Newsom actually feels about Americans, that he leaves his streets in a state of disarray constantly. There are homeless people by the thousands taking up sidewalk after sidewalk, and it just looks like an absolute mess. He doesn't give these people the proper care that they need. He doesn't get them off the streets, making the California safer. Instead, he just finds it okay to leave it there. But what happened about a year or two ago is that Xi Jinping, the leader of China, came to California to look around and all this stuff. And what did Gavin Newsom do? He cleared up the area completely. You could eat off the ground. They were so clean. And they had Chinese flags flying everywhere. So it's clear that he could potentially make California safer, but he chooses to not do so. And why does he not? I don't know. That's anybody's guess. But I just know one thing about Gavin Newsom. This man is not working for the best interests of Americans. He needs to be voted out of power. I really thought they were going to get him with the Larry Elder vote, but it turns out the voting in California is not as safe as we thought it once was. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on this down below. Do you think that Gavin Newsom's time in California is about to run out? Or do you think he's the future of the DNC? And is he going to be the next nominee for the Democratic Party for president? Let me know your thoughts on where you see this going. And if you enjoyed, make sure to smash that like, comment, subscribe, and wish you guys nothing but the best. Till next time.